Welcome to the Side Out Society podcast, your go-to place for the culture, stories, and community surrounding women's volleyball. I'm one of your hosts, Tiff Oshinsky.
And I'm Lindsay Harwood, your other host.
All right, Lynn. So one of the things that we want to do at Side Out Society is, talk about the sport, not just about the players and everything that's going on the court, but what's also going on off the court, and introduce fans and I guess the volley curious also to the awesome world of women's volleyball.
Yeah, no, that's true. I feel like if we only talk about what's on the court, we're missing half of what makes the sport so fun, just about the sport and the athletes. And yeah, we got to talk off the court.
Well, it's a good thing that we're talking about stuff off the court and not necessarily about women's volleyball, because we actually, there are a bunch of guys, a few guys who have taken volleyball for both men and women to a whole new level thanks to their viral videos, their youth clinics, grass tournament tour. And I'm so excited that we're going to have one of them on our podcast today. So our guest today is a certified defensive virtuoso who spent his collegiate years at the University of Hawaii, turning every opponent's best attack into a perfect delivery for his setter. A native of Moraga, California, he's a 3-time first-team All-American and a 3-time recipient of the Eric Shoji Award given to the best libero in the nation. He has taken that warrior mentality across the globe, competing professionally in Bulgaria, Germany, and now France, where he continues to prove that no serve is too fast and no dig is too difficult to convert into a point. But outside of the professional lines, he is a digital pioneer in the volleyball space. As a co-founder of Out of System, he has helped reshape the sports culture through viral storytelling, high-stakes grass tournaments, and the kind of high-octane media that has made him a household name for the next generation of players. He is a CEV Cup finalist, a creator who edits his own viral masterpieces, and the only man we know who can handle a 70-mile-per-hour jump serve with ease and then convince an entire gym to do a butt dig on camera. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the co-founder of the OOS Social Club and the man they call G-Swizzles, Gage Worsley.
Thank you very much. I'm flattered. That was an amazing introduction, and flattery is, for lack of a better term. So thank you so much for that. That was amazing.
Thank you so much for being here, Gage. I mean, we're honored to have you on our podcast, especially because you're taking the time from being in France right now. You're in the playoffs right now, in the semifinals as we're recording this. So while your team is in the French League playoffs, are you still focused on, being Gage, the professional libero, or has your mindset kind of begun to get ready for the summer and becoming Gage, the content creator?
Yeah, so that's so for me, when it comes to overseas life, depending on your day, you could have honestly most of your day free except for 3-4 hours. With that being said, you need to make sure that you're ready for those 3-4 hours. So you can't just go. I live in the South here, so I live next to the beach and everything here. I can't just go to the beach. For me personally, some guys can and go out there and
I think
sit
I
in the
could.
sun and sit in the sun and just chill and you guys bake all day and then be fine for practice. For me, that would absolutely cook me. So for me, it's usually I like to balance, honestly, the content creation with the volleyball. But this year, if I'm being honest, I've done a poor job of that, honestly. I haven't created as many videos as I wanted to, mainly also because I've been really, really focusing on volleyball. And there's other factors to it too. But yeah, so for me, when it comes to this time around here, it's you could feel the summer coming. You can feel the tour coming. You can feel Out of System in the States coming. But it's also, we're in the thick of playoffs here on a big run for the club. So that keeps me at base. But honestly, okay, let's say I practice at 5 or 6 in the night or 3:30, wake up, do work, go to practice, get out, immediately back to work. So that's kind of how it is with my schedule every day.
So what are you working on during those times, those off times, since you're remote from the rest of your I would say coworkers? What are the main things that you're working on or focused on right now?
Yes, there's a lot of things. So my role in Out of System a lot of the time is official role is chief of content, right? But when it comes to a company, when we have our hands in so many things, it's which also can be a detriment also. So we had to kind of as we learned a couple of years back. So we kind of reshuffled, and we always had these really cool, in our mind, we really enjoy doing a lot of different projects and bringing those up, including we have a lot of different stuff we're unveiling this summer. A lot of stuff that's in the works right now with either different companies or just that we're starting ourselves. So there's a lot of stuff going on inside Out of System that I'm not going to bore you guys with the details in terms of like, okay, we have this or that, but in terms of stuff, there's a lot of avenues that we're taking it. And as far as a lot of people know, and I think we're growing out of that, which is fine. However, like think of us how you want to think of us, but a lot of people think of us like just a crazy, stupid volleyball video type people. That is a big part of us. Don't get me wrong. That is a huge part of who we are. But in terms of like the business side and other avenues that we're expanding on, there's way more to it than people realize. So although I do like the content stuff, that doesn't just include the stuff that goes on the main page, but other stuff, helping run other pages, and a bunch of other stuff that goes on behind the scenes, preparing for the summer as well too. And then also with that, a lot of creativity, anything creative a lot of the time, not business wise, but in terms of like just creativity, like I'm kind of looked on a lot of times. So then I always have to, there's a lot of, there's big projects, and then within those big projects, there's a bunch of small projects. So it's on my computer. I'll wake up to around 70 messages in the morning, and then I'll get out of practice. Yeah. And then, so I'll get out of practice around 3:30 to 4. And I'll get out of practice around 5:30 to 6. And I'm 9 hours ahead of everyone else, 9 to 6 hours ahead of everyone else. And I'll get another 50, 70 messages then. And, I got to get on everything. And, I sometimes, like last night, I didn't even sleep till 3 a.m. because I was just like doing a bunch of stuff and like just getting a lot of stuff done. So, my sleep schedule is cooked, but alive and thriving. What can I say?
Like we're young
Seriously,
enough,
you're the midnight oil. Yeah.
I try my best, but I took a 2.5-hour nap though today, so that was much needed.
Oof, I love a good nap.
Yeah, I needed it. I had to wake up. I also had to wake up at like 7 or 7:30, and it was just like I was a zombie. And then I was like, I need to chill out for a second, so I did that.
I know that your story of how you guys started Out of System, you've talked about it. You have, I think, the video of your story as a pinned post on Instagram so people can find your story. You started in COVID. You and your brother played together. You added Micah to the team, all that good stuff. But considering where you started from the beginning during COVID, where you were just kind of making fun videos and attempted the podcast and all that kind of stuff, how has it completely changed from that initial world to like what you guys are doing now?
Yeah, well, first thing is the dedication was always there, So I can speak about me and my brother specifically. We always saw the vision. But what the original vision was, we want to be like a premier podcast in volleyball. You know what I'm saying? That was like the focus. And then we realized that, okay, we're going to these other tournaments. We want to kind of shift other media that we want to be doing as well on top of that. And then we started doing a few more vlogs. And then, it's not like we had some successes. Most of the time it didn't work, you know what I'm saying? But we were still growing and learning and whatnot. And then a couple years back, we had a smaller-ish, a decent following on TikTok or Instagram. And then we realized my brother's really good at, which is why CEO is like, he's always good at pushing and like relevancy and like this. And he's really, really good with that kind of stuff and always kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Developing, you know what I'm saying? Evolving. And so that was part of it too, where it was like, okay, we got like all this stuff. And that it was his idea to start doing we did a few short form videos, but not like comedically. I always had that piece of me that always was a little more creative and also absolute wild, because I look at some of the videos I post and I just die laughing. I'm like, that's wild that I posted this, but I don't regret it. Absolutely not at all. So it was his video. The small videos started with, we had this trend. It was like, is Witty Gwitty in the back? Well, like, you know what I'm saying? Like a Gwitty video or whatever. And that just got millions of views. All of a sudden we posted, we're like, oh snap. And then we just started making one every day, every single day. And then later that summer I came up, and then, videos evolved after that. For me, I'm a guy where I need to do one thing and the ball starts rolling. Like I think of things and then I do something and then all of a sudden, okay, next one. That's how my mind works really well. I work well off of stuff too. So then the butt dig and then went crazy viral. So we just held this crazy momentum ride up until this point. And like I said, I've been doing a not so great job this year about doing content, but usually I was in Germany the last 3 years and I always had a team after practice that were just just me and just a bunch of rascals, and just like they were like just like we just thought of the most out of pocket stuff. We're like, let's just do crazy, like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever comes to mind, I don't care. And also the cool thing about it is when you're overseas, you're so detached from everything. So you're like, you know, like I know we have fans and stuff, but like you're not as connected. So you're just on your own, just making videos. So there's no like second guessing in any, like, for example, like I'll go back in a camp and I'll like look at a kid and I'm like, oh crap, I wonder if they saw like this video or this video. You're like kind of thinking, and then you're like, ah, man, that, you know, that you just gotta honestly not care. And then I, you know, I don't at the end of the day. So that was nice. But like, so then when you're far out there, you just start just doing whatever your mind comes up with. And then in my mind could come up with some pretty wild stuff that I enjoy to put out there as well too. Because the butt thing I would say is, how do you say this? The tip of the iceberg. Because and then me and my friend just, as season got more and more on, more tired, we just put out wild stuff. But to answer your question is we were always evolving in terms of one of our media and then also our business as well too. So it started as a podcast, and then my brother's really good at this. Again, he's like, we got to push this, we got to do this. He's always innovating, he's always pushing, and Out of System wouldn't be where it is today as a business, as a company, as media without his constant push. And then my job is to release my brain onto the internet, I guess, in a way. You know, we'll kind of organize some stuff in terms of
Then
content.
you guys are a good team. Like you have the creative, crazy ideas, and he'll just like funnel it into something that works.
Or like I said, the other way around, you know? So it's like him, it's like, okay, then it's my job to think of content for that. But you're 100% right. So it's kind of one of those things where you're like, all right, so I gotta, you know, so he realizes that, and that, not to say we don't butt heads at times, don't get me wrong, you know, the business side of things with the creative side always is going to butt heads at times, but there's an understanding for each. So we have a really good relationship when it comes to that.
It helps when you're brothers and you kind of share the same brain in that way.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, we beat the crap out of each other when we were younger, like fist fights and like crazy fights. So we've been to war and we played together our whole lives on the same club team and everything, because there's about a 2-year difference. So it was just enough. And I was also libero, so I didn't need too much physicality. And he was setter, so it was just enough where we went to war against each other and mainly against other people with each other. So we have a very good understanding of how each other work, and we handle each other pretty well.
It's amazing. Did you guys play like 1v1 when you were growing up and see who?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we played in the bed. We had this thing called bedroom volleyball. We'd bring the ladder down because in bunk beds. I still have bunk beds. When I go back to my parents' house, it's still a bunk bed. My brother refused to sleep in it, but I was like, Mom, they're like, we gotta get rid of it. Get you guys a normal bed for me when you come back. Even though I spent 2 weeks out of the year there, I'm like, no, the bunk bed. I need the bunk bed. I had that bunk bed for my whole life, and I still sleep in it when I go back. Swear to God. And he sleeps in the guest room, so he has his queen bed. I'm like, you really don't want to stay up? Come on, bro. It's a bunk bed. Anyways.
You gotta relive your childhood one of these nights when you guys are home.
I mean, yeah. So then we would just do one-on-one all the time. But the problem is a lot of time it would break out into fights, like fist fights a lot of the time. And we'd just be like absolutely dookie each other. My dad was our coach our whole lives, up until we were about 18. Obviously, you don't really end coaching. You know, there's still stick points. He's not as hands-on, obviously, and he understands that, you know, we're grown adults and whatnot, but he gives his input on everything we have to say or that we're doing. So we appreciate that. But we would just, but he knew how to funnel that. Sometimes, 99% of the time, he'd let us fight it out, duke it out. And then, he's like, okay, then it's time to go back to war. And then you say, go back to playing. So yeah, we would always grow up. We grew up playing beach volleyball teammates since we were 8 and 9. My brother at one point, our first tournament ever, we lost in the finals. We were the youngest people there by 5 years, but we made it to the finals. And he remember in the finals, he was so frustrated. He took sand, just threw it in my face. I remember that. And my dad was livid. I could come on here for hours and tell insane stories from my childhood, but I'm not trying to scar any listeners out there or anything like that. But the thing is, though, is we grew up playing together. There are entire just different types of volleyball, which is where kind of Out of System stemmed. Like we wanted to create something that our younger kids wanted, like not young us as in younger our kids' selves wanted, that we just didn't have when we grew up. So voila, Out of System, I guess.
Well, no, it's pretty incredible. Of like volleyball, especially on the women's side, is now the #1 sport for young girls. And I know that your working every weekend. You're going to different cities, you're doing clinics, you're doing tournaments for kids, for adults. Like, how have you seen volleyball change? Like, since you were a kid, since Tiff and I were younger, it's changed incredibly, you know, just the popularity and the stories behind it and the media behind it. Like, what are you seeing how it's evolved even since you've started out of system?
Yeah, I mean, you see the media behind it is absolutely insane, and the money that's getting be put behind it in the college scene, and obviously now with the pro teams or the pro leagues is awesome, amazing. So it's great for that. So that just from also being from 9 months out of the year, being away from the States and kind of seeing it from that viewpoint, you see so much more of it. So that the fans around it's huge. I will say, like you said, we travel around a lot in the summer and host camps and clinics, and just some of these places that I end up with, the amount of kids that are there. Never my wildest dreams that would I ever end up, I'm going to be going to these some places. And I'm very glad I am. So that's part of why I love what I do in the summer, because we end up being in places where you're like, volleyball's big here, really. And you see kind of, and then the cool thing about it is each year we return to some of these locations if they want us back or whatnot. And we have a good relationship with most of the people. We have a good relationship with everyone that we work with. But we return with a high return rate in terms of when we go every summer to some of these people at some of these clubs. And you see the numbers grow in terms of the boys volleyball, in terms of the girls, like the club. We talk to them about the club a lot, and they say it's growing. I'm not saying that's because of us coming in there or hosting a clinic, you just see it, you know? And that's a cool thing about, there's a pro and a con to going in there only for like 3 sessions, you know, is that you get to see that, like, if we're there every day, you don't really see the change, the day-to-day change. But when you go 1 year and then you return within the next year, it's a full year's passed, and all of a sudden you're seeing, oh snap, like you see a lot more differences, you know what I'm saying? Those included with being more boys at the camps, more kids at the camps, and also those locations. I didn't realize how big volleyball was at these locations.
Like where? Can you give an example? Like, is there somewhere that you were really surprised?
Dude, if I would, you know what? I'm going to pull this year's tour and where I did not expect I was going to be ever. So every year it's called the tour. So it's like this is the 2026 summer tour. This is our 6th one. Hop in an RV. Usually we're gone for 2.5, 3 months or so. This one's lasting 2 months. So obviously my body's thanking me on that one. I mean, a lot of the time, like we're going to the 3rd time in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Never did I ever in a million years, 1, think I'd ever be there, or 2, did I ever think that there'd be a huge volleyball scene there. And
wait.
Yeah.
Before you continue with your Arkansas, it's so amazing that you say that, because we had Jason Kidd on the podcast a few weeks ago, because he's an investor for the Dallas Pulse and MLB, and we asked him, we're like, you've played basketball all over the country, like where do you see a new expansion, like where could you see an expansion team come? And he said Arkansas.
There you go.
I mean,
maybe you're onto something.
Maybe I'm not going to say we played a role in that, I'm not going to deny. No, I'm just kidding. No, they got it down. They have amazing kids there. Also, one thing I want to point out before, whenever we go to these locations, whenever we go to all locations, these kids are great, especially when we go to these locations where you wouldn't expect to go. The amount of thankfulness that these kids are, we don't expect people to grovel at our feet and be like, blah, blah, blah. All we ask as coaches is show effort and just be open-minded about stuff. And these kids are unbelievably hard workers, and they're so grateful. And that makes our job feel more impactful in a way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we love to interact with the kids. Maybe they've seen us online, maybe they've seen some of the athletes that we bring in on TV and they idolize them, which is why they came to the camp. So that as a whole is I want to shout out to all these kids, man. They're so grateful, unbelievably grateful. And we've seen some of them grow up, no joke. Again, this is our 6th one. So some of these places we've been 4 or 5 times. And you literally see them grow up and you're like, man, that's crazy. And you have pictures every year. And then, they bring pictures back of their family or the same shirt they wore the last 4 or 5 times they came. And really is unbelievable, unbelievable, to be honest.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it really is cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's a really unique position we find ourselves in. I mean, there's also Mount Vernon, Missouri. I was born in Missouri. Shout out to going back there. Vancouver, which is not so random, but the random that we keep. We have an amazing time there, an amazing
international.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, Oshkosh, of course, University of Wisconsin River Falls overnight. That's an overnight camp where we go, and it's all boys overnight, and it's grown huge. And so all the kiddos are left up. When I tell my teammates, the kids are left I'm in terms of checks and everything. They're like, absolutely not. I'm like, I am. There's like 80,
You're the
90
adult in the room. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I can turn it on, like, no problem. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we wouldn't be able to run the business if Gage was an absolute maniac, 24/7. You know what I'm saying? There's balance, there's levels, so there's balance to it. You know what I'm saying? I am always myself, but like I said, I was raised by a very strict father, a very intense father and mother. And so like I said, and they were coaches and stuff. So there's always, I know how to kind of balance it, being, more free and okay, time to like lock it in, which is also, sorry, I know I'm yapping a lot, but there'll be people there'll be companies that be like, okay, we're going to run it with you or something like that. Not clubs, but like, they're like hiring us out for something that used to be like this. Not, when we first started doing like events where like people could hire us out, we'd run like activation at their site and like, shoot content. They're like, okay, just can you just make, and they would try and be as polite as possible, just basically say like, Gage, you can't be crazy. You can't like this, some stuff you post online, you can't like do this, yada, yada. And we would get off calls dying laughing because
you're being censored.
Yeah.
Like, don't put the children in danger and you'll be okay.
And for me, it's also, it's a thing of me. And for me is like, whenever we had to, I never come close to crossing a line or anything like that. I know like where the line is. There's never even a close, but it's so funny that it's funny for me to see that like some brands or like some companies like, hey, can you just make sure? I'm like, I know I can't, like, I'm not going to do that, but like, I get it. I get where they're coming from.
But I gotta say, I think that's why you guys have been so successful just on like the media standpoint of it, like traditional volleyball media. And this is what Tiff and I have been talking a lot of, like what we're trying to do in general was like, it's covering the stuff that's on the court, or you're covering, the games or the players or stuff. But I feel like the media that you're putting out there is so fun. It's exciting. It's a little crazy. And like you said, like the young kids are coming to your camp, like idolize some of the older players and love your videos. And like, that's helping get more kids into the sport. And I feel like that's what the sport needs.
Yeah, because all the rest of the media, like, I mean, shout out to the media who's been covering volleyball in general, because without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. But I feel like, creators like you and Emily Eman, who post a lot of fun stuff, like there are these volleyball creators that are making it more engaging and fun, and like, it's a most popular like girls team sport in the US for a reason. Like, it's fun, but also like you guys are showing how fun it is, which we don't see. I feel like it's very serious, most of the media.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to the media, in my viewpoint of things, this is for me. This is not for any like for how people should do it. This is how I like to do it. Is me. I like to make, whenever I make stuff, and there's sometimes I break this rule for sure too, where I really want to shoot something and I do, but it's like I like to make volleyball I always like to say like volleyball just happens to be there. You know what I'm saying? In all these videos. You know what I'm saying? So that way, if, for example, I say, and there's been a few times I've done stuff like this, and there's no shade if people do this. This is for me what I like to shoot is like it's like POV when your outside hitter does blah blah, rather than you do like a POV and my teammate, and like a volleyball action just happens, and then that's not the funniness of the joke. For me, the funniness of the joke is like, it's something that everyone can understand outside of the volleyball niche. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like that, like the pack a punch, like the punch of the joke is not volleyball niche related, but it is in a volleyball surrounding. You know what I'm saying? And volleyball is heavily obviously involved in it. So I think that's where a lot of our content in terms of virality has really worked for us. Is like, for me, okay, there have been stuff where I make it very volleyball centric. But for me, I really enjoy doing just kind of volleyball happens to be there. And that way, whether you like volleyball or not, maybe you enjoy it, maybe you don't. It's just really up to you. But at least it's for me, I've realized that at least you don't have to like, it's way easier to relate to that way for any viewer.
Or like, you don't have to be an existing volleyball fan to enjoy it. And that's probably why you guys have been doing so well, is you're bringing in all these people that might have not been volleyball fans already or don't follow it, and you're bringing them into it. And now they can become fans of it. So I love that.
Sure. For sure, I appreciate that. I mean, also you heard sometimes I get comments and I die laughing at these. They're like, "You were ruining volleyball. You're blah 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 blah," and I'm just like dying laughing. I'm like, "Oh my god, these I don't know. People just get butthurt. I
You have
guess."
diehards everywhere.
Yep.
Haters, man, the haters, the motivators, man. Those are the people that run the algorithm. So keep commenting, keep it coming, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
I feel like it's very similar to like the Savannah Bananas. Like so many people hate the Savannah Bananas because they're like, you're ruining baseball. This isn't real baseball. But it's like,
You're selling out MLB stadiums, you know?
And it's like it's another niche. It's like it's supposed to be fun. Like there's still going to be the main sport that everyone loves, but like this is bringing in new fans. Like, don't you want new fans for your sport that are then curious? Like I agree. I'm like I don't fully understand. And there is a place for the seriousness. I'm not saying that there isn't, because you got to treat it like a sport, right? Like sports have analysts and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, you can have fun. You're allowed to have fun. We should have more fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the trouble with so for example, you have NFL, NBA, you have all these like all the biggest sports leagues in the world. It's all mainstream media. So like it's tough with volleyball as it's growing, because if you want to make more, I don't know if the controversial or for example, if you have someone who criticizes like each game, like Stephen A. Smith or something like that, you can't have that in the volleyball world without like a huge backlash, because it is still quote unquote some smaller sport and not mainstream. Once you start hitting that mainstream, I think, for example, there can be like Twitter warriors that like go crazy on comments and stuff. But in terms of someone, you know, being polarized like a Stephen A. Smith or something like that, you can't have that in volleyball right now, because as soon as you make any type of remark or anything, it's like war. Like, how could you, you know? So people a lot of time try and fit in this box, and I think eventually, hopefully, that box is broken. You know, Pandora's box, I guess, if you will.
And then we do get our very own Stephen A. Smith in the sport.
There you go. I mean, you think people like you know, you have people that are just very entertaining, you know, that say wild, whimsical stuff sometimes, that, you know, are critiquing of players, or, you know, people that you can critique us too, like you know, but once you kind of reach that, then you kind of that's like the new age versus old age of volleyball. You know, there's always, you know, old heads versus new heads, always like bumping heads. You know, so I mean,
yeah, it's like that in any sport.
Yeah, and it's growing. So like, hopefully it reaches that level of, you know, because you need controversy, you need rivalry. You don't want this. I think sometimes in the volleyball scene, especially in the States, there's trying. Actually, they do it really well in college because it's universities. But like you have this like clean like look to it. You want to be clean. You want to be this, and that's just not going to grow anything at the end of the day. You need rivalry. You need controversy. You need all this stuff, and you need personality. And once you try and go for this clean kumbaya look, you're not doing anyone any favors, in my mind.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
But speaking of college, I think Tiff and I and Out of System, we are all going to be in the Bahamas this fall for the Paradise Invitational. Speaking of some of the best college teams in the country. So tell us what you guys have planned, or I don't know, tell us a little bit about more of like what you guys have, you know, coming up for this tournament.
Yeah. It's correct me if I'm wrong here. It's Houston, Kentucky, SMU, and Purdue, right?
Yep.
September 11th to 13th, right?
Yep. At Bahamar in the Bahamas.
That's gonna be nice. So that'll be really nice. Unfortunately, I will not be able to go to it. Me and my brother, because we got to go. We'll be we'll be in back on our pro teams for about a month and a half. But we'll have a team there of representatives that we'll send. I talked to, maybe don't quote me on this here, but I talked to Troy Field. He said he's in, and maybe he's a beach volleyball player. And then we're going to talk to one more person sending out there. And then on top of 3 staff members, or 1 or 2 staff members of ours. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so we arrived there, and I know there's going to be like a fun like party at I think it's a Friday night that people arrive. And then Saturday, the games are in the morning. And then Saturday night, we're hosting for the people there, it's a 4-man beach volleyball, what's it called? A random draw 4-man beach volleyball event, where we spent a lot of time in the Hermosa, South Bay, LA area, and they do this great stuff of 4-man that's like 4v4 volleyball. and it's random draw. And that way you get to meet a lot of new people. You have a lot more fun. Everything's gonna be super laid back. Everyone's gonna have a good time. And we're in charge of hosting that. And I think there's gonna be an event that night on top of that too. That will be obviously have our team at and making sure everyone's having a good time. We were so honored to be invited by the Paradise Invitational. Also super stoked that we're going together here. This is gonna be awesome. And yeah, I mean, I know they're having us come in and run the tournament, bring good vibes, and that's one thing I think we're pretty decent at. So we're gonna try and do that to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, you'll bring the vibes. I have no doubt.
Try our best, huh? We'll see. We'll not we'll see. We'll for sure. That's our job there. So we'll make sure we do that.
I mean, I know that you played in Hawaii, which is basically Paradise, kind of equivalent to playing in the Bahamas and whatnot. But like when you were playing, these international tournaments didn't exist. I mean, obviously, this is the first one for women's volleyball. And actually, they just announced that the NCAA, they're lifting that new, I don't know what it's called, rule, I guess, where teams, before you could only go internationally once every 4 years. They just announced that teams can now go internationally every year, which I think is super cool. I mean, when you were playing, if you could have gone anywhere to play as like the University of Hawaii, where would you have wanted to play?
It's funny you say that because I was there my sophomore year when we were allowed to go international.
So you got to get one of those years.
Yeah, we got to go to Japan. We got to go to Tokyo. So that was unbelievable. That was a really amazing trip for us. So we got about there. We were there for like 7 to 9 days, and it was really unbelievable, Blair. I will be for sure going back. So Tokyo for sure. I lived in Paradise, as you said. So like obviously Bahamas would be amazing as well too. But Tokyo, I mean, going to Europe would have been really eye-opening for me because, you hear about European volleyball, your friends are going playing European volleyball that were older than you. And you kind of hear about it, but then when you get there, it's like eye-opening, like the stuff you learn, everything, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, so it's awesome that they lifted the ban because, like you said, the teams would only go occasionally. You hear about these random trips, like they'd go to these random places. I would want to go to Korea, South Korea, actually, now that you say that, actually. That would be something to do. But yeah, that would kind of be my dream. But it's awesome that they're lifting it, and you'll see a lot more. I think you'll see a lot more. The growth of the Bahamas event is going to be huge because who doesn't want to go to the Bahamas?
Exactly.
End
end of summer, school, work, everything starting again, and be like, nope, I'm going back to the Bahamas for some volleyball.
Yeah. That's gonna be a great event.
Yeah, actually, Kentucky. I was saying to Lindsay, I was like, Kentucky has the best first start of the season this year for women because they're going to be in the ABCA first serve tournament in Milwaukee. So they'll be going to that. And then 2 weeks later, they're playing Penn State at Wrigley Field. And then 4 days later, they fly to the Bahamas. And I'm like, best start to a season ever.
Well done, Coach Skinner.
Those programs, man, they got it made, man. They just got it made. Good for them. Crazy. You see these games at crazy places like Wrigley and obviously Nebraska's always pushing the envelope when it comes to that. Bahamas, man, you could have a pretty unbelievable preseason. Before conference starts, you can have some pretty unbelievable locations that you just checking off the bucket list.
Out of System should sponsor a tournament for these teams.
That's a good question. That's good. I think what we would do, if we could host one, we would just choose, just knowing me, Joe, and Micah, we would choose, I wouldn't actually do this, but this is where I might go. We would just choose a random place and just make it the biggest thing in the most random place. And get all these locals that have no idea about volleyball, just get them all there, get everyone packed, y'all hear about this volleyball or something like that. We're just in the middle of nowhere. And just make it the most crazy event, you know what I'm saying, possible. Would we actually go through and sign the contracts to do that? Probably not. We don't want to be liable. In theory, but no, Nashville's always fun. That's why we have our grass tournament there, it's Nashville. So yeah, it's we'll see. Hey, never say never. We'll see where the road takes us, huh?
Never say never. Area 51 has a baseball field. If you zoom into Area 51, there's a baseball field. I wonder if they have a volleyball court somewhere.
Underneath with the aliens. That's where they are.
That's where the Out of System tournament should be.
Intergalactic court. Throw it down there. Except they only play Chinese 9-man rules. That they got different rules down there.
So you just got engaged. Is that correct?
This is correct. Well, yeah. I gotta remember the date. Oh, it was December. It was after no.
It was right around Christmas in Venice, wasn't it?
According to your Insta.
Yep. It was here.
Oh, it was?
Just came from Brazil. Yeah, she just came from Brazil, and she had a 13-hour trip, and it was a crazy trip to actually get here because they said the club team, because they went for Club World Championships, and then they came back, and they said, okay, originally they had to fly straight back to Italy, but when they landed in Madrid, like their layover, they said, actually, you guys have 2.5 days off after that. So she was at the airport scrambling to find a flight, and on top of that, getting her bag out of there, and she had to talk to like 3 or 4 different people. It was a crazy event, but eventually she got here and like, she got close to me and drove her back. You know, I made sure to not have I didn't give anything away. She watched my practice that night. We went and got French tacos after. You know what I'm saying?
There's such a thing?
Yeah, it's like, think of it like a Crunchwrap Supreme, but like less Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Think of it like that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the story. That just kind of surprised me.
No, French tacos are a thing. It's a big part of the lore, so totally okay. So like, you can't it's like a fast food. So you can't be like, let's go dress up and get, can't, you know what I'm saying? And I had the ring. Getting the ring itself here was crazy because it was made in Philadelphia, so I had to have a friend. That's a whole another crazy story. That's an insane story, how I got it and like how it got made and stuff. But I got it nonetheless. And she, I was like, yeah, we should I live downtown in my city. We should go look around the Christmas lights. Okay. She said, yeah, for sure. We walk around for a while. We go to where during the daylight, at least, we like to go get a baguette or some fresh meats and stuff and make a sandwich or whatever. And right on the canal, the water here. It looks a lot like Venice here. So that's why you said Venice. So it looks a lot like Venice.
Yeah, I think that's why I thought.
Yeah. And totally understandable. It's they call it the Venice of France. It's a very beautiful city I live in.
What city is it?
It's called Sète. Sete, right next to Montpellier. Mm-hmm. And she actually is in Venice. So it's funny that, so she's pretty much out of Venice. So it's funny that you guys mentioned that.
Well, we should say you're engaged to Jenna Ewart, the international volleyball, star, former Texas and Colorado. Yeah.
National champion. Yeah. So so Jenna, Jenna is also playing the number 1 team in the world right now. They're in the Italian finals. They're 1 win away from winning, one match away on Wednesday or Sunday, and then she's in the Champions League Final Four, the top teams in the world, and they're the favorite to win that. So
amazing.
They're having a great year again. So so she's great. She's having an amazing time, and so we've known each other since we're 10 and 11 years old. Side note, that's the side note. Yeah. We grew up being friends. When we saw each other, I played with her brother for a long time, Jordan Ewer, who's on the national team. He's the outside hitter. But and I coached her younger brother too. And then we've been doing long distance for 7-8 years. And then I said, you know what? Let's pop the question here. So I sat her down and, as romantic as I am, I got on one knee, of course. I pulled it out. Bam! I pulled it out of nowhere. She had no idea. She was because she was on I don't even know what planet she was on also because she was in Brazil and the time difference back here is unbelievable. So, and she's on no sleep. She's you know what I'm saying? Almost like that. She's what? And mind was blown. So we got engaged. It was beautiful. It was everything she ever wanted. I was her Prince Charming. She was my sleeping beauty.
As you say, what's the wedding plan? Do you have any plans did you set a date or you're figuring it out?
The problem with that is system stuff. It makes it really, 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 really hard to plan a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So we were originally going to go, let's just go this summer, but then it's tough. And then we go next summer, but all our friends are always doing international, national team stuff. They have world championships. We got the tour, we got this, blah, 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 blah. So it's so hard to balance in this lifestyle with all our friends in this lifestyle. It's so hard. So later July to August beginning of August next summer, we're looking at doing it on maybe San Diego and stuff. But it's crazy. It's
Beautiful.
Been so long and we made it, so far so good. So trying to keep the streak alive.
Well, we're happy for you.
Yeah, we're so happy for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
If you do have the time, I think Lindsay and I honestly would love to hear the story of the making of the ring, the forging of the ring, and how it came to be, and how you got it across the sea.
There I was in Mordor, and no. So
The one ring to rule them all.
exactly. So there I am. My aunt is out of DC, and we have family in Philadelphia, right? My aunt, my cousins on my mom's side, and they're like the nicest people ever. But they're like, we got it, like very like old, not old. I want to say old fashioned. Not my aunt, but my mom's side. Like we have older relatives in Philadelphia. They have a jeweler in Philadelphia, and to go to DC to Philadelphia, probably like 90 minutes. I'm like, man, I'm gonna do it. I call my family. I eventually call my aunt and stuff. I'm like, yeah, like I'm like, I don't know anything about this. Like, is there? And like, I'm in France here, so if I go to a jeweler, do they speak English? What are the chances of that? You know, and what are the chances also being a foreigner? They maybe upcharge me a little bit. You never know. And this is a world that I don't know, so I'm not comfortable with that. At least, you know what I'm saying? So I call my aunt. I'm like, I know you have a jeweler in Philadelphia. I don't want to buy a ring from there. I just want to get information. I have just questions. Cool. She's like, oh, perfect. I'm actually going to my jeweler in a week. Amazing. My cousin ends up going there, who's like, she's like incredibly smart, you know, like myself, very loud, like all over the place, you know what I'm saying, too. She ends up going with her, too. And that's who I think is just going to be there. We set a time, like, hey, 8 o'clock, you can ask them this question. Perfect. Which is like, I don't know, like 2 p.m. for them. I get their phone, I got a FaceTime an hour earlier, something like that, where it wasn't on that exact time. All of a sudden, I answer. It is my aunt, my cousin, my grandfather, my great grandmother, on far removed or something like that, removed, but like, and then like one other person, and then the 2 or 3 jewelers who are there. There's like 7 or 8 people. I'm like, come on. I have 8 people screaming at me in this FaceTime. We gotta do this. We gotta go there. We gotta do that. I'm like, I just have questions, and they're asking me questions, and I guess I'm like answering them. As I'm answering them, I'm like catching on. I'm like, are they building a ring right now? Like, what are they? They were building a ring. I had zero intention of actually buying the ring from there. I had questions, then I'd go out over here and figure it out, you know. No. Boom. They're like, you gotta do this. You gotta do this cut. You gotta do this style. No, you're doing it wrong. Get this and this. And then you have another people. No, he's just man. He doesn't know he wants to. And they're like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, I'm FaceTime in France. I'm like, I end up an hour later, a phone call ends. I'm like,
did I just buy a ring?
I was like, oh my God, they're actually, so they made prototypes like online. They sent it to me. It's gonna look like this. And I'm like, okay. And my aunt's like, no, they're the best. We have to go with them. Yada. I'm like, do people mail wedding rings? Like, I'm like, that's kind of like a high risk. Like, there's no, like, and stuff gets lost all the time shipping internationally, like all the time. This is not something I just want to like, we'll see. Bro, I have to, my friend, Famous Zhang, like, she has to go to DC, fly back, fly it out to me in time. I would have proposed an earlier date to Jenna, but that got postponed because I couldn't get my friend there. She happened to be there because she was helping a friend move to Germany. So lucky that was the case. She was moving it, like she was having a friend with a Germany, and then she had to go to Germany to Paris, to Montpellier to pick me up. And then just to get the ring here, I had the ring. I hid the ring. I can look at the place I hid it up there. I looked at it. It was also, all right, this is not like a flex on my part. This is not me trying to, it was way bigger than I thought. And I looked at it, I was like, oh my, I opened it up.
Good for Jenna.
Congrats, Jenna.
Or actually, good for your family. Well done.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, jeez. Like, and then I call my aunt. I'm like, there's no way. What I paid was this. There's no way. It's like, no. Like, luckily she had a very good, shout out to my Aunt Diane, amazing, and my cousin Leah. And they had an unbelievable, like, relationship with the jewelers. And they've been there with a long time. So, like, they gave, like, a discount. So I was like, tell Aunt Diane, if you're, like, just please tell me the truth that you didn't pay any extra money to get this, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, this is like that. I was like, all right. And like I remember the amount of lost I was like, like when now I know this now, like when they have like the band and then they put the diamond on the band, but there's still the four corners that aren't like bent in, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
The
Leah's
prongs,
like, my cousin's like, do you want this one or this one or this one? I'm like, yeah, I like that, but I just don't like the stuff sticking up. Can we make sure that's not a thing? And they're like, Gage, you're an idiot. Well, it's not gonna be, you know what I'm saying?
That's why you have good women in your life.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly. And then I leaned on them heavily. And then so the ring was created and Jenna loves it. And we got her, also the thing is, obviously where you get it, usually get it resized for free, which we do. So then we're building it into the tour where me and Jenna got to run into Philadelphia, get the ring resized, and then we got to like hop back in the RV, So it's like, cause we got a very crazy schedule. So we got places to be, but obviously
it sounds very exciting and fun. And a crazy story.
It's amazing.
Should we continue on to our side out sprint?
Yes, that was such a perfect story to end. And congratulations to you and Jenna again.
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah. It's been an amazing ride.
All right. So to end, we do this thing called the side out sprint. We're going to ask a few questions that are kind of like fairly easy top level questions that are typically 1 or 2 word answers, maybe a little more. But it's kind of fast paced and whatnot. A sprint, hence side out sprint. So are you ready?
I'll go as fast as I can.
All right. Favorite piece of content that you've created so far?
20 years of volleyball experience. I take the ball, I throw it, and then I don't want to let's just say I go on the ground. I'll just put it at that.
Okay.
Specific.
I can send it.
Okay,
yes, send it.
Okay. If Out of System had to collab with one women's player right now, not Jenna, who are you picking?
In terms of volleyball player, correct, right? That's a stupid question.
Volleyball player.
One to collab that we haven't before, correct? Sorry.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. The biggest players right now, maybe I would pick, frick, this is a good question.
He stumped him, Linz.
I'm going to say, it's easy to say like Harper or Maddie, but I want to think someone more to our brand, I would say. Zengi. Damn, who would we do it? I'm sorry, I know I'm holding up this question. I'm overthinking it.
I'm thinking after we met them, Mia to Aniga. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I say Mia. Mia is always, we know Josh really, really well. We can go with that. I like that.
Mia's amazing. All right, your go-to pump-up song.
Actually, right now it's called Atlanta. It's Atlanta, right? Atlanta. It's Spanish. Yeah, Adelante.
Adelante. Okay, who is more competitive, you or Jenna?
Me. What's it mean?
That's a competitive answer. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think she would say so too.
Would you rather have a foot dig in a professional game or a monster kill in a grass tournament?
How about a butt dig?
Very on brand. Good answer.
I would love to actually see that happen in a game.
I did it in a practice.
Yeah, in practice, but I'm talking about in a game.
Do it in a game. You just gotta go for it, and then maybe get fired afterwards. But damn it, if you get that up, you'll just be a legend for the rest of your life.
Well, maybe this will answer this. What's one rule change you would like to make to volleyball tomorrow?
Men's volleyball, liberos can serve. This would not be good. I just want to put that out there. That would be terrible for the men's volleyball position, but it'd be great for me because that's one of my best attributes. So selfishly speaking, it'd be great for me. Terrible for men's volleyball.
When you do find time to go home in those 2.5 weeks, what's the first thing you do?
I'm talking about Mexican. I'm going straight to La Taqueria. I'm down in probably like 2 burritos, a quesadilla, and a couple tacos all in one sitting. No problem.
Impressive.
Mexican food.
What is one place, like a country or a city, that you're dying to travel to next that you haven't been to?
What was that Missouri place? Where are we going to Missouri?
Fayette.
No,
that was Arkansas.
You know what? I'll say somewhere I haven't been. I've been a lot to Alaska, but we're not going. That I haven't been, right?
Yeah.
I want to host a camp or clinic in Alaska.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah,
super cool.
We did it in Montana in an Indian. That was one of the most beautiful places ever. But we did it at not a reserve. What's it called?
Reservation.
And what happened is we had 3 gyms near each other. So they'd have to go outside to go to the next location, and there's just mountains. And we had to pass by cows and stuff. And like it was amazing. It was one of my favorite. And we stayed right on the water. Oh, one of our most famous butt digs came from there. Also, yeah. Anyways, this is one of the most beautiful videos I've ever shot. I'll send it.
All right, send it. In the same vein, one place you want to do your infamous butt dig?
I think I got to do it off no, you can't do it off a mountain because then you wouldn't get the ball. Something where it would be really high. The Eiffel Tower. Or something like that. But like I said,
but it'd be good content if it didn't.
I don't really do a lot of butt digs right now because also like you don't want to you risk of making it too bland. You want to make it unique each time. You don't want to.
That's why you got to find these cool places.
Exactly. So that's a good question for sure.
And okay, so lastly, do you have any non-volleyball hobbies that people would not expect?
I mean, that people wouldn't expect? No.
That people would expect then?
Yeah, I'm a troll.
Or just any non-volleyball
I'm a troll.
hobbies.
I'm a troll when it comes to, especially living overseas. I don't mess with anyone. I mean, I mess with a lot of people, but I just don't care, especially when at the supermarket. And I'll just go and just do wild stuff that causes no harm or no foul, but just small stuff that people are you know what I'm saying? For example, there'll be a cell of 60, 70 pans, and I'll just walk up to it and just test it out, and I'll do another pan too, and then I'll go this with it, and everyone around me will be especially because I'm a foreigner, and I'll just put it down and I'll just walk away. Stuff like that I do a lot, a lot.
So you're like a troublemaker in your free time. Yeah.
Yes, but I'll never also videos or pranks should never be I don't think should be the expense of anyone else to make anyone feel bad, or you're disrupting something, in my opinion.
Agreed.
That's where I draw the line. Yeah.
I like that. It's a good rule.
I try my best,
Well, Gage, thank you so much for all your time and talking to you. And it's been a pleasure to learn more about you, Out of System, your amazing ring story with Jenna, everything that's going on. Congratulations on everything, and excited for the rest of your playoffs and the tour this summer and everything else that's to come.
Things are heating up. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and I am but a humble servant, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.